Preface. Horror has always been a fascination of mine, and it's a joy to share that with my son. This collection of stories is a testament to our mutual love of the genre. So turn off the lights, grab a blanket, and prepare yourself for a journey into the unknown.
Chapter 1. Arrival. The crisp autumn air carried a sense of anticipation as John, his wife Sarah, and their two children, Emily and Michael, arrived at the remote campground nestled deep within the ancient forest. Towering trees loomed overhead, casting long, eerie shadows across the worn path that led to their chosen campsite. As they pulled into the campground, their headlights illuminated a scene that sent a shiver down their spines. The area was teeming with children, their youthful energy palpable. The sight of so many kids filled with excitement should have been heartwarming, but a sense of unease settled over John and Sarah. Where were the parents? Wide-eyed and curious, Emily and Michael pressed their faces against the car windows, their small fingers tracing the glass. "Look, Mum and Dad!" Emily exclaimed, her voice laced with excitement. "There are so many other kids here." John forced a smile, attempting to mask his growing concern. "Yes, it seems like we stumbled upon a popular spot," he replied, his voice betraying a hint of unease. Sarah glanced at her husband, her brows furrowing with worry. She knew the children needed to burn off their energy after the long drive, but the absence of adults sent chills down her spine. She looked around, hoping to catch a glimpse of a responsible figure, but all she saw were dozens of smiling faces. Reluctantly, John parked the car, and the family stepped out into the chilly night. The air was filled with laughter and playful shrieks, creating an almost sinister symphony. Shadows danced around them, their elongated forms swaying as if whispering secrets to one another. As they began unpacking their camping gear, a haunting silence descended upon the campsite. The children, like marionettes, suddenly stopped their joyful antics and turned their attention toward the family. Their smiles remained fixed, but their eyes held an unsettling emptiness. Sarah's breath caught in her throat, and she instinctively took a step back, seeking solace in the warmth of her husband's presence. "John, something isn't right," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Why are they all staring at us like that?" John's pulse quickened, his mind racing with unanswered questions. He scanned the campsite, searching for any sign of adult supervision. But his eyes met only vacant stares. Anxiety prickled at the back of his neck, and he tightened his grip on Sarah's hand. Before they could process the chilling sight before them, the children began to converge, moving with a synchronized eeriness. Their footsteps were soft and almost soundless, like whispers on the wind. John and Sarah found themselves encircled by the young faces, their innocent grins masking an unknown intent. Emily and Michael clung to their parents, their small bodies trembling with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. The forest seemed to hold its breath, the dense canopy of trees absorbing their every word. Fear coiled in the pit of John's stomach, and he mustered his courage, his voice quivering slightly. "Where are your parents? Who is watching over all of you?" he asked, desperately trying to find a logical explanation for the unsettling scene. But the children remained silent, their smiles unyielding as if guarding a malevolent secret. The forest around them seemed to pulse with an unspoken energy, as if the ancient trees themselves held a sinister knowledge of what lay beyond their sight. A chill wind rustled the leaves, sending a shudder through the family. It was as if nature itself was warning them of the impending darkness that loomed on the horizon. John and Sarah exchanged a knowing glance, their parental instincts on high alert. Their eyes met, a silent exchange of concern and curiosity. The absence of adults in a place filled with children sent a chill down their spines. Yet they tried to dismiss their unease, rationalizing that the parents might be exploring the nearby trails or gathering around a communal fire. With a mixture of excitement and caution, the family began setting up their campsite. As they pitched their tent and arranged their supplies, their movements felt hurried, driven by an unspoken urgency to establish a sense of security in this strange environment. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the once vibrant colors of the forest faded into murky shadows. The atmosphere shifted, as if the forest itself held its breath, waiting for something ominous to unfold. A rustling in the underbrush caught their attention. John and Sarah turned towards the sound, their hearts racing, only to find a lone rabbit darting away. They exchanged a nervous smile, attempting to dispel the tension that hung in the air like an invisible veil. With the campsite ready, they gathered around a crackling fire, its flickering flames providing a feeble sense of comfort. They watched as the night deepened, the darkness encroaching, casting long shadows that danced and writhed around them. Sarah's gaze wandered to the surrounding woods, their depths swallowed by impenetrable blackness. She strained her ears, half expecting to hear distant whispers carried by the night wind. A distant hoot echoed through the trees. But it was the silence that gripped her, the absence of the expected sounds of nature replaced by an eerie stillness. As the fire crackled and popped, a sense of isolation settled upon them. The laughter and voices of the other children had ceased, swallowed by the void. Emily and Michael clung to their parents, their once vibrant spirits subdued by an unseen force. Sarah's voice trembled with uncertainty. "John, do you feel it too? Something is not right. It's as if we're being watched, as if there's something lurking just beyond the edge of our senses." John nodded, his eyes darting into the encroaching darkness. "Yes, Sarah, it's unsettling. We need to stay alert, protect the children. There's an eerie presence here, something we can't quite grasp." A sudden gust of wind swept through the campground, extinguishing the flames and plunging them into darkness. The family huddled together, their breaths quickening, as an unsettling silence descended upon them. Their eyes strained to pierce the veil of darkness, searching for any sign of movement or the source of the eerie presence. Just as panic threatened to consume them, a distant sound shattered the silence, a faint whisper carried by the wind. It was an indistinct murmur, like a chorus of voices barely audible, yet filled with an unspoken menace. The whispers seemed to emanate from the depths of the forest, growing louder and more menacing with each passing moment. John, Sarah, Emily, and Michael exchanged terrified glances, realizing they were not alone in this foreboding place. Their hearts pounded in their chests as the whispers intensified, the words still unintelligible, but the intent unmistakable. The forest seemed to come alive with hidden malevolence, its secrets threatening to consume them. Chapter 2. Whispers in the Night. The moon hung high in the ink-black sky, casting a feeble glow upon the dense canopy of the ancient forest. John and Sarah, their hearts pounding in sync with the rhythm of the night, found themselves drawn deeper into the enigmatic realm that had swallowed the campground. The haunting sound that had stirred their curiosity now echoed like a siren's call, compelling them to uncover its source. Each step through the underbrush released a symphony of rustling leaves and snapping twigs, creating a symphony of the unknown. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and decaying foliage, mingling with an unidentifiable aroma that hinted at the presence of something otherworldly. Their flashlights carved narrow beams of light through the oppressive darkness, revealing fleeting glimpses of twisted roots that seemed to reach out like skeletal fingers, eager to ensnare unwary wanderers. Shadows danced in their peripheral vision, shifting and contorting, whispering secrets too ancient and dark to comprehend. A faint breeze swept through the trees, carrying with it an ethereal symphony of whispered voices. The words were unintelligible, but their fragmented syllables seeped into John and Sarah's consciousness, sending shivers down their spines. The voices seemed to emanate from all directions, as if the very forest itself had come alive to taunt them. The forest became a labyrinth of tangled paths and obscured landmarks, disorienting the couple as they pressed on. The ground beneath their feet transformed from soft soil to rough, gnarled roots, threatening to trip them with each step. The air grew heavy with an electric charge, raising the hair on the back of their necks, as if unseen eyes watched their every move. Time seemed to lose meaning as they ventured deeper, the darkness intensifying with each passing moment. Shapes twisted and shifted in the corner of their vision, teasing their senses, only to dissipate into nothingness when they turned their gaze. The forest seemed to delight in their vulnerability, playing tricks on their minds and heightening their apprehension. Their determination drove them forward, overcoming the gnawing doubts that threatened to consume them. But despite their relentless search, they found no tangible evidence of the source of their unease. The forest guarded its secrets with a malevolent glee, ensnaring them in a never-ending maze of uncertainty. Finally, as the fatigue settled upon their weary bones, John and Sarah reluctantly retraced their steps, their hearts heavy with a sense of defeat. They returned to the campsite, their breaths labored, only to be met with a scene that chilled them to the core. The space that had been bustling with the laughter and playfulness of the other children had become a desolate expanse. The vacant tents stood as silent sentinels, their interiors untouched, devoid of life. Panic surged within them as they searched desperately for any sign of the vanished children, their calls of names echoing unanswered into the abyss. A tremor raced down their spines, a cold shiver that left their souls unsettled. Emily and Michael, their own children, stood alone amidst the empty campground. Their eyes, once vibrant with innocence, now held a vacant gaze, fixated on an invisible presence. Fear gripped John and Sarah, their parental instincts screaming for them to protect their children from the encroaching darkness. A knot formed in their stomachs as they comprehended the gravity of the situation. They were trapped in a sinister web, entangled in a mystery that threatened to tear their family apart. The chilling realization settled upon them like a tombstone, cementing their resolve to uncover the secrets that lurked within the woods. Chapter 3. Silent Departure. Disturbed by the chilling absence of the other children, John and Sarah hastily decided to pack their belongings, their hands trembling with unease. The forest seemed to close in around them, its once inviting embrace now suffocating. They exchanged a glance, their eyes reflecting shared apprehension and the unspoken understanding that they needed to leave this place. As they ventured further along the winding forest path, the weight of the eerie silence settled upon them like a suffocating fog. Emily and Michael walked alongside their parents, their small footsteps muffled by the carpet of fallen leaves. The air grew still, devoid of the usual sounds of nature. It was as if the entire forest held its breath, anticipating some unseen terror. Sarah reached out to hold Emily's hand, longing for a reassuring touch. But as their palms connected, Sarah couldn't help but notice the icy chill that ran through her daughter's fingers. A shiver crept up her spine, and she squeezed Emily's hand tighter, desperate for some semblance of warmth and connection. Yet Emily remained unresponsive, her gaze fixed on an unseen point in the distance. John's voice trembled with concern as he attempted to engage Michael in conversation. "Hey, buddy, what's going on? Are you okay?" he asked, his words punctuated by the hushed rustling of leaves. But Michael remained silent, his eyes vacant and distant. John's heart sank, a wave of helplessness washing over him as he realized the extent of the grip this mysterious force had on their children. The forest's edge loomed ahead, a border between the known and the unknown. It beckoned with the promise of escape, a glimmer of hope in the encroaching darkness. As they neared the forest's edge, distant lights flickered through the trees, accompanied by faint voices resembling police or rescue personnel. Relief surged through John and Sarah, their spirits lifted by the prospect of help finally arriving. Driven by desperation and the instinct to protect his family, John took the lead, his strides purposeful as he hastened towards the flickering lights. The voices grew louder, their tone filled with reassurance. His mind clung to thoughts of safety and salvation, envisioning a reprieve from the nightmarish ordeal they had been thrust into. Sarah watched John's retreating figure, a mixture of hope and fear swirling within her. "Be safe," she whispered, her words carried away by the wind. She turned her attention back to Emily and Michael, her heart heavy with concern. The children stood in silence, their eyes fixed on the darkness beyond, as if locked in a trance. Time seemed to stretch as Sarah waited in the encompassing stillness. Minutes turned into an eternity, and yet there was no sign of John's return. Doubt began to gnaw at the edges of her mind, whispering insidious thoughts of abandonment and betrayal. Panic clawed at her chest, threatening to consume her. Emily's voice broke the silence, barely above a whisper. "Where's Daddy?" she asked, her voice tinged with a mix of confusion and worry. Sarah fought back her own rising fear, attempting to provide reassurance. "He went to find help, sweetheart," she replied, her voice quivering. "We're going to be okay. Just stay close to me." But even as she spoke those words, doubt lingered in her own heart. Suddenly, John emerged from the darkness, his face etched with a blend of relief and concern. Sarah's breath caught in her throat, her eyes searching his face for answers. "There's no one there," he confessed, his voice laced with confusion and despair. The weight of their dire situation settled heavily upon Sarah's shoulders. "What do you mean, there's no one there?" she demanded, her voice tinged with both frustration and fear. John's eyes darted around, scanning the surrounding darkness as if searching for a logical explanation. "I don't understand it," he replied, his voice trembling. "The lights, the voices, they vanished, as if they were never there." A chill ran down Sarah's spine, mirroring the cold grip of dread that tightened around her heart. The forest seemed to close in around them, its dense foliage concealing secrets that sent shivers down their spines. The silence hung in the air, unbroken and oppressive, as if the very fabric of reality had been distorted. As they stood there engulfed by the overwhelming silence, Sarah's gaze shifted to Emily and Michael. Their expressions remained unchanged, locked in an enigmatic trance. "What's happening to them?" Sarah whispered, her voice barely audible. She reached out, her trembling hand gently touching Michael's shoulder. No response. Desperation clawed at Sarah's chest as she fought against the rising tide of panic. They were alone, trapped in a nightmare where the normal rules of the world seemed to crumble. She knew they couldn't stay in the forest any longer. They needed to find safety, answers, anything that could bring an end to this torment. Chapter 4. Into the Light. With a sense of desperation and mounting fear, the family continued to flee through the oppressive darkness. John took the lead, his footsteps resolute as he guided them through the labyrinthine maze of the foreboding forest. Each step felt like an eternity, the unknown lurking at every turn. Their breath came in ragged gasps, mingling with the suffocating silence that hung heavy in the air. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest, her senses heightened by the urgency of their situation. Fear tightened its grip around her throat, threatening to consume her. As they trudged on, the forest seemed to grow denser, the trees closing in like sinister sentinels. The moon, hidden behind a thick veil of clouds, offered no respite, leaving them to rely solely on the faint glow of distant stars to navigate their path. The very ground beneath their feet seemed to shift and sway, disorienting them further. John's voice, strained with exhaustion, broke the silence. "We can't give up," he urged, his words laced with determination. "We have to keep moving, find a way out of this nightmare." Sarah nodded, her gaze fixed on their children, who followed behind with an unnatural sense of purpose, their eyes glazed over and devoid of emotion. "I don't understand," Sarah whispered, her voice trembling. "What has happened to them? What force has taken hold of our family?" Her words hung in the air, unanswered, as they pressed onward through the never-ending darkness. After what felt like an eternity of treacherous navigation, the family stumbled upon a clearing, bathed in an otherworldly glow. The air crackled with an electric energy, and their hearts raced with a mixture of awe and terror. In the center of the clearing stood a colossal UFO, its metallic surface pulsating with an ethereal light. Sarah's breath caught in her throat as she beheld the sight, her mind struggling to comprehend the enormity of the situation. "John, we have to go," she pleaded, her voice tinged with a mix of urgency and fear. "It's not safe here." But as she turned to face her family, a wave of terror crashed over her. Their faces were no longer familiar, twisted into unnerving smiles that sent a chill down her spine. Emily and Michael, their eyes glazed over, moved with an unnatural strength as they approached her, their grip unyielding and relentless. "Stop! Let go of me!" Sarah screamed, her voice filled with desperation. She fought against their hold, her body writhing in a futile attempt to break free. But the children's strength was inexplicably enhanced, their determination unyielding as they dragged her closer to the waiting UFO. The pulsating light grew brighter, blinding Sarah to their surroundings. The world seemed to fade away, leaving her alone in a blinding void. Panic surged through her veins, her silent screams echoing in her mind. Moments later, the light dissipated, revealing an otherworldly interior. Sarah found herself standing within the confines of the UFO, surrounded by an alien environment that defied all logic and reason. The walls hummed with an eerie energy, and the air carried a metallic tang. Her eyes scanned the room, searching desperately for her family, but to her horror, she discovered they were no longer themselves. John, Emily, and Michael stood motionless, their bodies suspended by unknown forces. Their eyes, once filled with love and warmth, now mirrored the vacant gaze of lifeless dolls.